Author and columnist Mark Steyn joins us now. I have a feeling you have a few things to say, Mark. Welcome aboard.
Hey, great to be with you, Tammy.
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. I mean, I agree with Alexandria. No one wants to go back, but I don't think anyone wants to go back to having their two jobs delivering pizza either, because this is going to be a rough primary and certainly would be an even rougher general election. What do you think is his biggest liability? Is it his skin color? Is it his age? Is it being associated with the past? What do you think they're looking at here?
Well, I don't think it's his skin color or his age, because as much as I enjoy hearing all these people beat up on a 76-year-old white man, his principal rival in the Democrat primary is a 77-year-old white man. And the difference between them, I think, is that Bernie is a romance for his supporters. He's a romantic figure. He's a romantic, insane figure, but he is romantic. Biden is tired and is in the awful position of being unable to run as himself, because the Democrats have basically disowned 90% of what Joe Biden has been doing in Washington the last 45 years. So that's a terrible problem for a guy when you have to run in an essentially dishonest way, which is why he gave this tortured and weird rationale as to why he's decided to get into the race in this video. So Bernie has it way easier. Bernie just has to be Bernie, and Biden is trying to be something other than Biden.
Yeah, in the video, it was interesting in that he really based it in Charlottesville, and it seemed as though that it was this fear that all of America had become racist, and he's supposed to be the moderate, and yet that is the rhetoric of the left, and the rhetoric of the left really also is kind of sexist and racist in a way, and ageist for a group that's politically correct. They seem to be moving into an arena that they used to condemn people for.
Well, it is very interesting that old people are the last people you can beat up on. And I think that's to do with the fact that Democrat ideology essentially now is living in a kind of hyper-present tense.
Right.
So that anything that happened before the day before yesterday is entirely irrelevant. So that means that people who exemplify it, that's candidates who are older than 12 years old, can be beaten up on the grounds of their age. But Biden doesn't even do the old thing well. Because say what you like about Russian collusion, but the basic premise of the Russian collusion fever was that Trump was some kind of deep sleeper, or not so deep sleeper, for Vladimir Putin. That doesn't indict all Trump supporters. Right. This weird thing that Trump somehow is leading to this resurgence of white supremacism necessarily indicts not just Trump, but half the population of the country too.
Well, that's it, and it's difficult to have to fit into that now. And the other older white man, Bernie Sanders, last night attended an event called She the People. A woman in the crowd asked Sanders what he'd do to fight against so-called white nationalism. When he evaded giving an answer, Mark, he began to get heckled. Listen to this.
Let me just follow up, Senator. The core of the question is about, as president, what would you do with the rise of white supremacist violence to protect our communities?
Absolutely.
You know, as somebody who, I know I date myself a little bit here, but I actually was at the March on Washington with Dr. King back in 1963. And
boy, he got booed for mentioning that. What's going on there, Mark?
Well, I think Bernie, in fairness to him, well, I'll say one thing, by the way. He looks fabulous there. He doesn't look 77. He looks like 83, 97, maybe. But you can tell he's actually serious about running for president, because he lives just across the Connecticut River from me in Vermont, and he looks more coiffed and groomed than I've ever seen him. So he's serious this time.
He is serious, and I think he's ready to take it on. But this is just one kind of taste of what everyone can expect in this Democratic primary season. Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks a lot, Tammy. Great being with you.
Great being with you too, dear.